Hello good people of YouTube, Mountbatten here, bringing you the best tier 10 battleship in my opinion. Now this list is descending from 5 to 1, 5 being not the best, the worst, and 1 being the best. Now, in my opinion, there's only one truly bad tier 10 battleship, and we'll get to that one pretty quickly here in a second. The other 4 are very close in my level of enjoyment and playtime. And again, this is all my opinion. We can have different opinions, and you probably do have a different opinion. If we all had the same opinion, the world would be a very, very boring place. So anyway, without further ado, let's jump into the list with number 5, which is the Conqueror. Anyone who watched my channel for any amount of time should know that the Conqueror is my least favorite tier 10. I'm going to go through the pros and the cons of the Conqueror, and then kind of give you a wrap-up opinion, and that's what we're going to do for each ship. So the Conqueror, the pro is, of course, it is an absolute fire starter, especially with the 419 guns. Those things, you'll be setting fire after fire after fire, and multiple fires at the same time on enemy ships. This is, of course, very aggravating if you are in the receiving end of this. It also has really good concealment even after the nerf. It's still about 13 kilometers, which is just shy of some tier 10 cruiser levels of concealment. And of course, since if you've seen most Conquerors play, they like to hang back, fire a salvo, go invisible because of their concealment, rinse, wash, repeat. Conqueror also has the lull hill. It can quite literally come back from the dead. It can have 1 health left, hit that hill, and be back up to just over half health in about 20 seconds, which gives it really, really good survivability. And that's a good segue into the last pro for the Conqueror. Actually, no, it's not the last pro. Second to last pro for the Conqueror is that it has an underwater citadel. I've citadeled a Conqueror in random battles maybe twice. Once with Montana, the Conqueror was maneuvering very, very hard, and I could actually see its fouling paint, which is that red paint on the bottom of the ship, and I blasted it full broadside of Montana, so freaking 12 16-inch guns from about 8 kilometers away, and managed to get 1 citadel off of it. And the other time, of course, was at about maximum range, well, not maximum range, about 18 kilometers away with a curve first, which is extreme range for a curve first. And again, I got 1 citadel. That is that 40-second video on my channel. The last pro for the Conqueror is, of course, that it has God tier AA. It's on about the same AA level as the Montana. Montana has a bit of an edge on it, but they are extremely close when they both have AA builds on them. Now let's go ahead and move on over to the cons for the Conqueror. The cons is that it has a low health pool, so it does have the least amount of health out of all the tier 10s, and it has less health than some tier 9 battleships, and it has weak secondaries. That's about it. Oh, and it doesn't have a spotter plane. So it's got 3 things going against it that don't really affect it too much. The spotter plane is really the only thing that really goes against it heavily, because the only way you can really deal with a Conqueror in battle is have a destroyer kind of sneak around and catch him catch him off guard with a bunch of torpedoes, because torpedo damage, you can't repair all of that, especially if you cause flooding. Now, Conqueror can go down if your team focus fire on him. Focus fire on it. I didn't ask the end of that. My bad. But the thing is, 1-on-1 against any other battleship, the Conqueror will probably win every time. And this goes into the reason why this ship is last on my list, is because this ship, it's a very lazy ship in my opinion. You can just sail around at max range, slinging HE at absolutely everything, not having to switch between ammo type, and just setting fires. It doesn't matter how other battleships angle to you. You're just going to keep setting fire after fire after fire, and eventually just kill them outright due to fires. It also, the HE owner also has really, really good pins, because it is British HE, and I'm not very okay with this ship, because battleships, it's all about the armor. They should be able to angle and tank from other battleships, and I get cruiser HE and destroyer HE, it's a video game, there needs to be balance. If it was realistic, a battleship could just laugh at a cruiser and destroyer HE at all day, and not even care about it, and only really care about the torpedoes they have. But this is a video game that needs to be balanced. Destroyers and cruisers need to be able to damage battleships. But when you give a battleship such insane HE like you do the Conqueror, it just kind of breaks the game, in my opinion. Now, of course, like I said, if you do focus fire on the Conqueror, it will eventually go down. You throw enough AP at it, it will die. But Conqueror has also kind of had, I call it the Conqueror effect, where now you see a lot of battleships just slinging HE when they should be shooting AP. Because, they see Conqueror just slinging HE all the time, setting tons of fires, getting these insane HE pins on other battleships, and then they try to mimic the same, and in my opinion just kind of brings the quality of the game down. And they did kind of nerf it. They gave the hill a longer cooldown and increased the detectability of it a little bit. When it first released, you could get your detectability down to under cruiser levels of detectability, which was just stupid. The heal isn't really my biggest problem with it, though. Because I played Conqueror as a brawler. I threw the 457mm guns on there, which you only get 2 per turret, so you have a total of 8 guns, 8 457mm guns. And I would go in close range, pop that heal off, do some drive-bys on enemy battleships, get a ton of damage, and then, die, because once the heal ran off, you were kind of screwed because you have such a low health pool. And then after that, it just, in my opinion, encourages Conqueror players to stay even further back and just sling HE. So, that being said, that is why Conqueror is number 5 on this list. So let's go ahead and move on to number 4, which is the Montana. Now this is really a hard decision between the 4th and 3rd ship on this list for me, because Montana was my first tier 10 battleship, and I love this ship. So let's go ahead and get into the pros. It's got really, really accurate guns. Probably the most accurate out of the tier 10s besides the Yamato. And it has 12 guns, 12 really accurate guns. If you've seen any Montana gameplay, the shells go where you point. It also has God tier AA. Like I said, Conqueror has really good AA, but Montana does beat it out in the AA department. Carriers will just straight up avoid you until your AA gets burned off by enough cruiser and destroyer HE spam or Conqueror HE spam. And it also has really good concealment. You can get its concealment down to 13-ish kilometers too. And the cons balance that out, where in Conqueror I don't really think the cons balance that out. So that being said, let's go ahead and move to the cons. It is fairly easy to Citadel. It's probably the easiest tier 10 to Citadel except for the Yamato. They did lower the Citadel a bit, which did help, but still, any other tier 10 battleship, or cruiser for that matter, can pretty reliably Citadel a Monty if the Montana does show them, their sides. It does have small guns for tier 10. Now, 16-inch guns are no way, shape, or form small guns, but by tier 10 standards, it does have the smallest guns out of all the tier 10 battleships. And the secondaries, they aren't bad, but they're not good. Now, I've seen some people run with secondary Montanas, and they swear by them, but at the end of the day, you do have less secondaries than the other 3 ships on the remaining 3 ships on this list. You only have the same number of secondaries that you do with Iowa, and they are of the same caliber. So it's not really a secondary strong battleship. So overall, I do really like this ship, and the thing is, it's just I get this feeling in the back of my head that it's just getting power creeped by all these ships that have gimmicks. It's still fine right now, and the legendary upgrade that you can get for it certainly does help its survivability a lot. But my fear is this ship is going to get power creeped into oblivion if they keep going with the, gimmick. Each new battleship line that gets introduced has some form of gimmick given to it. But it's still a very good ship right now, and I'm sure that I'm not sure. I hope that my fears of it being power creeped or just, me being a bit, what's the word? Paranoid. Why did it take me so long to think about that word? Just me being a bit paranoid. But I mean, you can do some real damage in this ship, especially if you get in close. I have a video of that, the Montana Massacre video. I just go for it and just absolutely wreck the ships that get in my way. And like I said, this was my first tier 10, so I have a very special connection to this ship, and I love it. However, I do love the next ship on the list a little bit more than the Montana, and this is where I think some people will start to disagree with me. And moving on to number 3 is the tier 10 French battleship Republique. Yeah, let's get into the pros and cons, and then I'll give you my thoughts on why this ship is in front of Montana. So the pro for this ship, starting off, is it's a very, very fast tier 10. Can put that speed boost on there, put that speed flag on there, and you will just fly at about 32, 33 knots. And also, if you equip the main battery module, I believe it's mod 3, you can get a 20-second reload on 17.5 inch guns. That's base. That's before adrenaline rush starts to kick in. And the guns are pretty dang accurate. They're not Montana or Yamato accurate, but they are, you know, they're close to Montana accurate. Most of the time, sometimes RNG will come out of nowhere and just thwack your shells around the map. And its secondaries, it's got really good secondaries. I mean, they aren't her first level secondaries, but she's got a lot of them, and you can get them out to 11 kilometers with the secondary build and the secondary flag. Throw a adrenaline rush on top of that, 20-second guns and these insane secondaries, and you'll be having a grand old time. Now the cons. The Republic, of course, only has 2 turrets with 4 guns per turret, for a grand total of 8 guns. However, you do lose 1 turret. There goes half your firepower. So that is a problem that it's quite hilarious when it happens too, when you're bow tanking and suddenly you have no more guns in the front and you're just kind of sitting there awkwardly because you just got neutered. And it does only have 32mm armor all the way around, and its citadel is not below the waterline. It is above the waterline, so you can still get citadeled fairly easily in it. And the 32mm armor does mean you will be eating HE left and right. Conqueror has 32mm armor too, but it does have the lull hill to offset that. Republic gets no such lull hill. And also doesn't have a spotter plane. Has a helipad though, but no spotter plane, catapult fighter, anything like that. But there is a helipad just chilling on the deck, but no helicopter. So, torpedoes and such, you will get surprised by those if you're not running with your team, which you should be doing. So the reason I put this ship in front of the Montana is I've just been having a blast with this ship ever since I unlocked it. I know some people have been saying she's underpowered and such, but I mean, come on. A 20-second base reload on 17.5 inch guns. That, some adrenaline rush, the French captain with the increased adrenaline rush, that's just a recipe for a fun time. I've had lots of fun in this ship, and again, I do also have a special relation with this ship because my second impressions video for the Republic is currently still my most viewed video, sitting roughly around 2,500 views. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but for a channel of my size, that is certainly a lot. And it's fun playing something different besides a battleship with 4 or 3 turrets. 2 turrets, fast reload, a fast ship, really good secondaries, really lightly armored. I have a ton of fun in Republic when I play her. And her guns hit really hard. I mean, you will be overpinning a lot because of the velocity and caliber of the guns, but boy, when they bite, do they bite hard. They hit like Yamato guns, but you can't bow pin anything because only Yamato can do that. But yeah, the ship's just a blast for me to play. That being said, let's go ahead and move on to number 2, which is further where I believe me and some people will disagree. Number 2 is the Yamato. Now, again, let me go through the pros and cons, and then we'll get into my opinions. So, pros for the ship: 18.1 inch guns, rip bow armor. You can overpin any ship you want in the game, with the exception, I mean, you can overpin the Conqueror first bow armor. It's just harder to do because of the way the armor is situated. You know, you have that one little sliver of 32 millimeters of bow armor, and then some nice 64 millimeters of bow armor coming together. So Curve first is the only. I mean, you can. I've still overpinned the Curve first bow armor. It's just more difficult to do. And she also has 2.1 sigma for battleships, for battleship guns. That is really, really good. That's what that translates into. Really, really good dispersion. She has the most accurate guns of all the tier 10s, and Monty is the only one that can really give her a run for her money. So you got 18.1 inch guns that are really accurate. And if you build for it, she can either have strong secondaries or AA, and I say strong meaning that, you know, it's not like Curve first levels. It's not even Republic levels of AA or secondaries, but it is on the better side, I feel. I have a secondary build on my Yamato, and you know, she just chews up any destroyers or light cruisers that come into her secondary range. Now the cons of course, she has a very, very high Citadel. She's the easiest tier 10 battleship to Citadel by far. Her Citadel sits nice and high. If you catch a broadside Yamato, oof. She also has that weak spot underneath the two turrets in the front. You can Citadel her through the bow, right? No, not through the bow, but, you know, underneath the turrets pretty easily. She's also slow at 28 knots with, I think it's like 28.5 for the speed flag, and I think it's usually like 27-ish knots. Which, while all the other tier 10s are running around at 30 knots and even faster if you're in the Republic, you are a turtle at at 28. I think it's 27.9 or 28 knots. Then you can throw the speed flat on there and get her up to 29-ish knots. I'm not sure exactly the exact numbers. I don't even waste speed flags on the Yamato because why? And lastly, her turret traverse takes an eternity. Now, with the legendary upgrade and the buff that just dropped, her turrets are a bit faster, but still, they're the slowest out of all the tier 10s. So my opinion of her, she's a fantastic ship to play. I enjoy playing her. I play her probably more aggressively than you really should, because I like to brawl, and while she certainly can brawl, she's not the best ship for it. However, with those huge guns, you just get so many moments where you catch a battleship broadside and just erase their health, if not delete them all in a single salvo. You know, Yamato is the sauce, basically. However, she isn't the best sauce, because the best sauce, in my opinion, well, I mean, if you know your tier 10s, you should know what the best sauce is. And for me, the best sauce is the tier 10 German battleship. This is number 1, by the way. I'm sure editing me is a little mad at recording me right now because I messed up my nice numbers right there. Is the Grosser Curve first, the tier 10 German battleship. I love this thing, and let me tell you why. The pros of this ship is pretty much what Citadel, lol. I mean, she does have a Citadel. It's just really hard to get at. And that is, of course, because of her very German armor. And after the pretty much non-existent Citadel, you have the insanely strong secondaries. Kurfürst is a secondary king, only probably being challenged really by Alsace in terms of secondaries. But I find the French secondaries are really good at setting fires, where the German secondaries are really good at actually doing damage. You know, against cruisers and destroyers, and you're not really going to be doing too much damage against other battleships with secondaries. That is where the fires come into play. And the Kurfürst can set a fair amount of fires. I'm just saying the Alsace is a bit better at setting fires. And like I was talking about with the Yamato, the Kurfürst has really freaking tough armor. You won't really be able to overpin the bow armor of a Kurfürst with a Yamato. I mean, you will. It's just tougher, like I said. And all around, she has really, really tough armor. she's meant to be a brawler. And plus, on top of all that, you do get hydroacoustic search and a catapult plane. So that balances one of the negative points, which is she has horrendous torpedo protection. 27% torpedo damage reduction. I guess the Germans thought torpedoes would be obsolete by the time the Kerr first got made. I don't know. It's a little bit ridiculous in my opinion, but I understand with all the pros I just listed out, she has to have some form of balance, so I guess they just forgot to add torpedo armor to most of the ship. But like I said, you do get hydroacoustic search and a catapult fighter, and if you time it right, you can have hydro going, then a catapult plane, then hydro going, then a catapult plane. With there's going to be a bit of cooldown in between, but you can juggle it to where you can get the minimal amount of time of cooldown in between hydro and hydroacoustic and your plane being up. And she also has horrendous concealment. You can see this thing from space. You will probably be the first battleship detected if you rush forward too quickly. You can do that in any battleship, but you can be rushing with other battleships and be detected far before the battleship right next to you. Say if you were running with a Montana or even a Yamato next to you, and you're both going forward to cap, you're going to be detected first. But it comes into another negative point about the Kerr first, which is her range. She only has a 20-kilometer range, which isn't a big deal for me because the other negative point, her German dispersion, really you don't want to be shooting at anything over 18, 19 kilometers anyway with dispersion. You can take some Hail Mary shots like I have in the past and get lucky on them, but it's nowhere near consistent with the German dispersion right there. So overall, the Kerr first, yeah, she's my baby. I love to brawl, and the Kerr first is hands down the best tier 10 to brawl in. And now there can be an argument made for the Republic, but yeah, the Republic's got really good secondaries, but the Kerr first has better secondaries and better armor. She is slower and bigger. She got a ton of health too, 102,000 health, I believe, somewhere around there. My health's usually draining pretty fast because I like to brawl. So like I said, got those good secondaries. You do have 12 guns at least, and I do use the bigger guns because they do pack a little bit more punch, and with Adrenaline Rush the reload gets pretty low anyway. And of course I do have a brawler build on my Kerr first, so I have Adrenaline Rush, and you get those secondaries just going off like a freaking minigun sometimes if your health gets low enough. But yeah, Kerr first, she's my number one. Now, again, this is all my opinion. It's 120% of my opinion. So, if you disagree, no big deal. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this should be a very boring world and a very boring game if everyone had the same opinion and just played the same ship as everyone else, So, in the comments section below, let me know what your favorite tier 10 is. And do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Are there any points about the ships that I missed? Because like I said, this is all just my opinion. I didn't go find this on some forum or anything. I didn't find this off anyone else's video. This is just all my opinion, and I probably did miss some stuff about some of the ships, but yeah. If you like the video, drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. We're on a push to 300 subscribers, and we're doing quite well. We are just a little shy of being under 80 subscribers away from 300. So, a subscription would be very nice. Again, thank you all so very much for watching, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.